You've probably heard the whispers, maybe the legends. There's this place out in the Atlantic, right, where things just seem off. Ships vanish, planes disappear, like poof, into thin air.
Hmm.
No wreckage, nothing. It's whispered about by sailors, pilots, or, well, maybe a bit wary. And it's still this enduring puzzle.
The Bermuda Triangle.
Exactly, the Bermuda
Um,
Triangle. So tonight, we're diving into this, not just, listing the spooky stories, but trying to figure out why it still grabs us,
Yeah.
why we're still talking about it.
Right.
Think of this deep dive as your shortcut, basically. We've got the notes, the articles, all the research, and we're pulling out the key stuff for you. Okay, let's get into it.
Yeah, it's an area that's really sparked the imagination for a long, long time. There's a lot of history there, lots of layers to peel back.
Right.
And our goal here is really just to pull out the most important bits of information, the key insights from everything we've gathered, specifically for you, the listener. Help you understand the what and maybe the why it still feels like such a mystery.
Okay, so first things first, let's get the basics down. Where is this triangle exactly?
Well, it's not like officially marked on maps,
Right,
but
yeah.
generally it's this area of the Atlantic Ocean, kind of loosely bounded by Miami and Florida,
Okay.
Bermuda, obviously, and San Juan, Puerto Rico. And it's big, really big.
How big are we talking?
We're talking almost 500,000 square miles of open ocean. It's a vast area.
Wow, 500,000 square miles. Okay.
And, the name itself, Bermuda Triangle, it feels ancient, but it was actually coined fairly recently,
Yeah.
1964.
Get out. 1964.
Yeah, by an author, Vincent Gaddis, in a magazine called Argosy.
Huh. So the name is recent, but the strange stuff, it goes back further.
Much for that. You can even find reports in, the logs of Christopher Columbus.
No way, Columbus.
Yeah. On his first voyage, he wrote about seeing strange lights in his compass doing really weird things. Bizarre compass readings, I think he called it.
Right.
Right in that same general region.
Okay, so maybe an early sign of trouble.
Perhaps. A little historical foreshadowing, maybe.
So fast forward.
Yeah.
Over the years, decades really, this area gets linked with just hundreds of disappearances. Planes, ships, gone. And the really eerie part is, like you said, often no clues.
Right. It's the lack of debris, the lack of SOS calls in many cases. That's what fuels the legend. It's not just that they're lost. It's like they were erased.
Erased. Yeah, that's a good word for it. And some specific cases really stand out, don't they? They really cemented this whole thing in our minds.
Absolutely. To really get why this place has this reputation, you have to look at those specific incidents. Some are just deeply unsettling.
Like Flight 19. That's right, the most famous one, right? 1945.
Definitely one of the cornerstones of the legend. 5 U.S. Navy bombers, Avenger torpedo bombers.
On a routine training mission.
Supposedly routine, yeah. They took off from Florida, flew out over the Atlantic, and then radio contact got weird. Confused, disoriented reports from the flight leader.
And then just silence.
Then silence. And the really awful part, they sent out a rescue plane, a big Martin Mariner flying boat, to search for them.
Yeah.
And it disappeared too. Vanished.
Oh, man. So how many people total?
27 men across the 6 aircraft. Just gone, never seen or heard from again. And what's interesting is initial Navy reports pointed to, pilot error, getting lost.
Mm-hmm.
But the story, the mystery, just took hold.
Okay, so that's planes. What about ships? I know there are famous ship disappearances, too.
Oh, absolutely. Maybe the biggest in terms of loss of life is the USS Cyclops.
Cyclops, okay.
This was way back in 1918. A huge U.S. Navy collier ship, like a cargo ship carrying manganese ore, I think.
Yeah.
And over 300 crew members.
300, wow.
Yeah, sailing somewhere between Barbados and Baltimore, and it just vanished. No SOS, no wreckage ever found, nothing.
That's insane, a ship that big.
It's still the largest loss of life for the U.S. Navy, not related to combat, just gone, vanished without a whisper. How does that happen?
Exactly. That's the question that hangs over these things. And wasn't there a weird one with a yacht, like really close to shore?
Ah, you're thinking of the Witchcraft. Yeah, 1967.
Right.
Yeah.
This was a luxury cabin cruiser. The owner radios the Coast Guard, says he hit something, needs a tow, minor emergency, really. And he's only about a mile off the coast of Miami.
A mile, that's nothing.
Practically swimming distance.
Mm-hmm.
The Coast Guard gets there incredibly fast, like within 19 or 20 minutes.
Bad.
Nothing, calm sea,
Mm-hmm.
clear night,
Yeah.
no boat, no debris, no sign of the witchcraft or the people on board. Just gone. 1 mile from shore.
That is bizarre. So close.
It defies easy explanation, right? And then you've got the airliners, too.
Right, there were those British planes. Star something.
Star Tiger and Star Ariel, yeah. British South American Airways planes. Vanished in 1948 and 1949, respectively.
Similar circumstances.
Very similar.
Yeah.
Flying in the vicinity of the triangle, good weather reported routine radio calls. Then silence. No distress signal. No wreckage ever found for either one. Gone. Just adds to the pattern, doesn't it, this unexplained absence?
Exactly. And that absence, that lack of closure, that's where all the theories start to bubble up.
Okay, so yeah, theories. After hearing all that, you have to wonder, right? What could possibly be causing this? What are people saying?
And there's a whole spectrum from the, let's say, mundane to the treely out there.
Let's explore them. I mean, maybe you listening will find one sounds more plausible than others. It's interesting just to see the range of explanations.
Yeah, what's fascinating here isn't just the proposed answers, but also, how we try to explain the unexplainable. It says a lot about us.
Okay, so where do we start? The most logical ones first.
Probably best. And the most common, maybe the most statistically likely explanation for many incidents, though maybe not all, is simply human error.
Right. People mess up.
People mess up. It's a very busy area for ships and planes, always has been. Navigation mistakes happen. Pilots miscalculate fuel. Equipment can fail unexpectedly. Out over the vast open ocean, even a small error can become catastrophic really quickly.
Yeah, that makes sense. No room for error out there.
Very little. And combined with that, you have the weather.
Ah, yes. You mentioned it's unpredictable there.
Extremely. The weather in that part of the Atlantic can change incredibly fast. Sudden, violent thunderstorms can pop up. And then there's the phenomenon of rogue waves.
Rogue waves, like tsunami size.
Not quite tsunamis, those are caused by earthquakes, but these are individual massive waves, sometimes over 100 feet high, that can form seemingly out of nowhere in storms or even sometimes in calmer seas.
100 feet. Wow.
Imagine a ship, even a large one, getting hit unexpectedly by a wall of water like that. It could be overwhelmed, broken apart, and sink in moments. No time for an SOS.
Okay, that sounds plausible. Terrifying, but plausible.
Definitely a factor to consider.
Then there's the whole magnetic thing. I hear that one a lot. Compasses going crazy.
The magnetic anomaly theory. The idea is that there's something weird about the Earth's magnetic field in that specific area that messes with compasses and navigation gear.
So it makes ships and planes just get lost.
That's the theory. They drift off course, run out of fuel, end up in danger. The problem is, scientists point out that magnetic variations or declinations exist all over the planet.
Oh.
Yeah, magnetic north isn't the same as true north, and the difference changes depending on where you are. Navigators know this. Instruments are designed to account for it. There's no scientific evidence the variation in the triangle area is uniquely dangerous or, fundamentally different from anywhere else.
So that one's maybe less likely than it sounds.
It doesn't seem to hold up strongly under scientific scrutiny, no. It's a popular idea, but maybe not the reality.
Okay, what about methane gas? That one sounds wild.
Wow.
Like the ocean floor just burps and sinks ships.
Laugh slightly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like science fiction, but there is some science behind it. The theory involves methane hydrates.
Methane hydrates.
Yeah, basically ice-like deposits on the seafloor that trap huge amounts of methane gas. Under certain conditions, these deposits can become unstable and release the gas. If a massive amount of methane gas erupts and bubbles up to the surface under a ship, it drastically lowers the density of the water.
So the ship just sinks.
Instantly. The water becomes like foam, almost. It can't support the ship's weight anymore, and it could theoretically plummet straight down very quickly. Again, no time for distress calls.
Has this actually been observed, or is it just a theory?
The eruptions themselves are known geological phenomena. Whether one has ever actually sunk a ship in the Bermuda Triangle, well, that's the speculative part. It's possible, geologically speaking, but unproven as a cause for specific disappearances.
Right. Still a pretty dramatic image.
It certainly is.
And then, okay, we have to touch on them. The fringe theories.
Yeah.
The really, really out there stuff.
When you have mysteries, especially ones with zero wreckage, people's imaginations tend to fill the void, right?
Absolutely. So what are we talking about here? Aliens.
Aliens are a classic. Alien abductions, UFOs disabling craft. Then there's talk of lost underwater cities like Atlantis having strange technology.
Portals to another dimension.
Portals, time warps, secret government experiments, undersea bases. You name it, the list goes on.
These are obviously not grounded in science.
Not at all. Zero credible evidence. But
But when a Navy bomber flight and its rescue plane vanish without a trace, you can kind of see why people go there, right?
exactly. The lack of answers for some cases just leaves the door wide open for speculation, no matter how wild. It beats just saying, we don't know.
Okay, so we've run through human error, weather, rogue waves, magnetic issues, methane gas, and aliens and portals.
Yeah.
After all that, what do the actual scientists, the oceanographers, the atmospheric people say about the Bermuda Triangle overall? Is it really a uniquely dangerous place?
Well, when you look at the data and listen to organizations like NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, the perspective becomes much more grounded.
Okay.
There's a quote from Dr. Evelyn Brooks at NOAA that sums it up pretty well. She basically says, there is no evidence that mysterious disappearances occur with any greater frequency in the Bermuda Triangle than in any other large, well-traveled area of the ocean.
So statistically, it's not special.
Statistically, no. She goes on to say that when you factor in the sheer volume of ship and air traffic that goes through that busy area, combined with the known hazards like hurricanes and sudden storms, plus the ever-present possibility of human error.
You're bound to have accidents and disappearances just like anywhere else with similar conditions.
Precisely. What looks like a unique mystery might just be a collection of unrelated tragedies happening in a busy, sometimes dangerous part of the ocean, misinterpreted over time.
So even Flight 19, you mentioned earlier the Navy initially thought it was pilot error.
Right. Modern analysis often suggests the flight leader might have become disoriented, maybe his compasses were malfunctioning, but for mundane reasons, he mistook his location, flew further out to sea instead of back to land, and they eventually ran out of fuel. Tragic, but not necessarily supernatural.
Okay. So if the science suggests it's not uniquely cursed or mysterious, what does that mean? Why does the legend persist so strongly?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I think it boils down to perception. The idea might be, as some sources suggest, less supernatural and more about perception.
How so?
We're drawn to mystery. We remember the strange stories, the unexplained disappearances, much more vividly than the thousands upon thousands of perfectly safe crossings. The dramatic tales get told and retold, embellished, linked together, and a legend builds, even if the underlying statistics don't support it being uniquely dangerous. It's a compelling narrative.
That makes sense. The scary stories stick.
Mm.
And it is true that things are much safer now, right? With technology.
Oh, absolutely. Today's navigation is worlds away from 1945 or 1918. We have GPS, incredibly accurate satellite weather tracking, reliable radio communication, emergency beacons.
So commercial flights go through there all the time.
Yeah.
Cruise ships.
All the time, every day. The vast, vast majority transit the area without any incident whatsoever. It's a standard route for many journeys.
There's still that little nagging feeling.
I think so. Despite all the technology, despite the rational explanations, still something about this place lingers. As one source put it, an unease, a question mark carved into the ocean itself. Maybe it's just the inherent mystery of the deep ocean. It's vast, powerful, we haven't explored all of it. It holds secrets.
So wrapping this up,
Mm.
is the Bermuda Triangle truly a cursed vortex where reality breaks down? Or is it more about us? Our fascination with the unknown, the stories we tell to make sense of things we can't easily explain?
Maybe it's a bit of both. The ocean is dangerous, and unexplained things do happen sometimes.
And maybe, as one thought goes, maybe it's not what's in the water, what's in our minds. Our need for mystery, for something bigger than everyday life.
That's a really interesting point for you, the listener, to consider. If the science offers logical explanations, why are you still drawn to the idea of the Bermuda Triangle? What does its endurance tell us about our relationship with the unknown? Perhaps until every single lost ship is located, until every last transmission is understood. The Bermuda Triangle will keep its hold on us. It'll remain what it's always been in our imagination, a mystery hovering just beyond the horizon. It reminds us there's still so much we don't know about the world and maybe about ourselves.